Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we just saw two awesome movies in the span of a week.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I got a third awesome movie, though.
You got a third? Why don't you start with the third?
Let's just start with this. It's a Clint Eastwood movie.
So it's already, like, by default, kind of like 2.5 at least.
Yeah, by default, it's an instant 2.5. You know, going into it, it's already a 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost like, it's like Metal Gear Eastwood.
Metal Gear Eastwood?
Meets Top Gun.
Okay.
Are you intrigued?
I'm more confused than anything, but yeah, continue.
Have you ever heard of the movie Firefox?
No.
Okay, what it is, it's like in 1982, it's pretty much Clint Eastwood, he's in Alaska, so it reminds me of Solid Snake already, and he's like out jogging, and then this helicopter flies in. It's kind of like Commando, when they're calling in like, we need to call you back on the duty kind of thing.
I don't do that anymore. Yeah. I'm done.
Well, apparently he was like a numb, and they don't really even talk about it. He just has these flashbacks every once in a while. There's just like a little Asian girl in a rice hat. He's like... And it doesn't even explain, like, God knows what happened to that little Asian girl.
Just an angry grunt, just like that? That's all it is? Or is he, like, his hands covered in blood? Like, no.
No, it doesn't even show him. It's almost like a picture of this little Asian girl in a rice hat. It could be a straight up picture. I don't even know if it's like video footage. And it's just like it fades in over Clint Eastwood at points and then like fades back out to him. Well, what it is Clint Eastwood needs to go back into action and he needs to steal the Firefox, which is a Soviet special...
Weapon?
Yeah, no, well, it's a special jet. And he's like the only pilot that can
sounds
fly.
very Metal Gear Solid-ish right there.
Yeah, so it's like...
sounds like the Firefox.
It reminds me of like, kind of like Little 007, and then like the jet scenes, obviously, and it's pre-Top Gun, 2 years before Top Gun.
Do you have any part where he like bumps into some nerdy guy? He says like, I only wanted to make nuclear weapons to do good for the world, but it just backfired.
I like my anime!
I mean, I love Metal Gear Solid, but I can't help but get over that scene when Otacon literally starts falling blood for like 2 minutes straight.
Like, you think if you're this smart, don't you realize what nuclear weapons are going to be used for?
Yeah, or wasn't like a nuclear weapons they used as math equation? Did he know it was a nuclear weapon, or was it like a math equations that they used for that? Or
you know, I played through Metal Gear Solid not that long ago, but I really actually can't remember still.
Some of those scenes just kind of go on autopilot. Your favorite scenes stand out.
Yeah, but some of those other ones you're like, whatever, fucking Otacon.
Yeah.
I just want to go over and see that GameCube sitting there.
Yeah, if you're playing the Twin Snakes version.
Yeah, but back to Firefox. So pretty much, I almost said Solid Snake. So Clint Eastwood sneaks in, you know, and
Solid Eastwood.
And everybody dies along the way. He's trying to help him out. They're like, we're dying for the cause.
Are these like people? Are these like civilians, or are they just other like POWs, or what?
No, they're scientists and different other Russian people that are pretty much like on the American side. And so he steals the Firefox, and it's apparently supposed to be controlled by like kind of like a mind control thing.
So it's a little science fiction.
Well, it's kind of like Pacific Rim almost. That's what it made me think of. Like that's almost where that came from.
I really just want to see Clint Eastwood just punch out a giant kaiju now.
Not like that, but like.
Or he just pull or Dirty Harry like 6 could just be him just pulling out a revolver, just pointing at a kaiju and shooting.
So he's stealing this mind controlling jet and then has to fly it back, Clint Eastwood style. But the funny thing too is because like he's in the jet and like at the beginning there's an English guy's like, there is a black box in there, what you Americans call a black box, and I want you to like talk into it just in case anything goes wrong and maybe we can recover. And he's trying to like, how can I not sound like a total asshole? And Clint Eastwood's like, whatever, I'll talk into it. But then when he's on the plane, he's just like the most calm pilot, like, flying through the air. Okay, gonna return this Firefox back. It's just like...
That's all he does?
It's just like, you know, you're flying the fastest plane in the world. Or let's say it's fastest jet. Yeah, it's just like, whatever, just another mission.
He's bored. Clint Eastwood could just play it off board and totally still come across to him.
You know, just like, yeah, fighter jet pilot, whatever.
That's what I do.
But it's actually a pretty cool movie, though.
Fighting off Russian ninjas. Yeah, not a big deal at all.
And the guy who did the special effects for all, like, the jets flying and everything was the guy who did the Star Wars special effects.
I'll have to check this movie out. It's called Firefox?
It's called Firefox. Like
Please tell me...
Like, the cover's mostly Clint Eastwood. He's wearing, like, kind of like a Soviet, like, jumpsuit, like... I'm drawing a blank. And there's a big, like, black... It looks kind of like the... What the heck was that? That one that made the Supersonic. It was in the U.S. You see it in museums now. It's kind of old by now. I think it's called Blackbird.
Yeah.
But it looks like that, sort of.
Please tell me Lee Van Cleef plays like the evil Russian pilot.
No, there is an evil Russian pilot.
Of course there is.
It's nobody you know of, or at least I can't think of.
Dolph Lundgren would be awesome.
They're mostly all English actors in it.
That's kind of the way it works a lot of times. Like American cinema, a lot of times, like the European, just get a British guy. You know, because if you look at, even though I love the movie Where Eagles Dare, all the Nazis, most of them, are talking with British accents.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
There's a few guys with German accents, but...
But yes, yeah. Well, Where Eagles Dare is an amazing movie, but as far as accents go and stuff, it's just kind of like not there.
Accents and historically accurate or whatever. It's a fun movie.
It's just an awesome movie.
It just balls the walls action. That's all that movie is, and that's what's awesome about it.
And this one's pretty cool too. Yeah, Firefox. Check it out.
I'm guessing Where Eagles Dare. I don't know who the British actor is. I'm assuming the British guy who's with the second character in that movie. I'm guessing they're using that for two audiences. Like, okay, we got Americans with all the fast shooting and with all the Clint Eastwood and all that. We're catching the American audience. With the British audience, we're going to capture, I'm guessing that guy's some old school, like, beloved actor from England. And
the other main character?
What?
Or the guy who's actually really the main character in that movie?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because you always think Clint Eastwood's the main character. Like, well, he's actually...
He is front and center. But
he's front and center, but he's kind of the second guy.
That guy's the guy because he's the witty guy. He's the smart guy. He's getting him through it the whole time. Just Clint Eastwood. Like, we need someone to get shot. Clint Eastwood, just jump in there.
Well, they actually had some really cool special features on this one, too. It was like a good, like... It was one of those old-fashioned documentaries. But, yeah, it was a good, like, half an hour or something.
I'll have to check that out. Firefox, I'll keep note of that one.
But no, it's badass. Top Gun, Metal Gear Solid, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it reminds me of. And you can see, like, where Pacific Rim might got inspired for that.
I'm having trouble imagining Pacific Rim in there of all things.
Well, I'm trying to talk about the mind control, because kind of like, apparently the jet's supposed to, like, because, like, you're supposed to think, and that's how you can, like, do actions in it. Which Clint Eastwood kind of just talks, so I'm not... I was confused for a minute.
Comes before that to me. I guess it depends on whatever you saw first. Yeah, Evangelion comes first, because Evangelion was kind of the same thing. They didn't need two people, but they had to fuse with the robot.
To be it.
Well, the way it was is actually, it's kind of like... I won't go too much into this, because it's a little off topic, but it's like... You know, that whole thing, it's kind of like Earth versus Heaven kind of thing. And the robots in it weren't actually robots. They were genetically engineered angels.
Yeah. With
a bunch of armor and robotics over them. And they had to fuse, their minds had to fuse and link with the creature inside of it in order to control and fight.
One thing in Pacific Rim, though, is I do think that's like, okay, that mind control thing, I understand, or not mind control, but like you control the whole thing by like synchronizing your mind with some other dude. Well,
cut off the pain sensor.
Once, like, it just seems kind of like, I go with it, but it seems a little far-fetched. I feel like, what's wrong with just a giant control board? Like, you know, you're sitting behind.
Faster reactions. There's probably time that it takes for, like, the... I mean, I'm not trying to get too like, scientific for a movie with giant kaijus and robots kicking the piss out of each other. But I guess if you had a... I guess, A, it just sounds a little cooler, a little more futuristic, and I guess the time it takes to pull lever...
I guess to me it sounds more
artsy. The electricity to reach that cord, to move it, and all that kind of shit.
I guess to me, I don't see how it'd make too much of a difference. It'd be the same thing, thinking of it wise.
I don't know. I'm not going to look too much into it. I'm already bad at science as it is. I ain't even going to bother looking into pseudoscience.
Well, to me, because I guess, yeah, it feels more like sort of like fantasy science. But...
Do you mind if I actually jump onto something real quick?
Well, you got something?
Yeah, well, welcome to like 4 months ago. I finally got Bioshock Infinite.
Oh, yeah?
And, because, I mean, it's kind of one of those things, I wish I consider myself a hardcore gamer, and not that I dislike video games, I just don't have the time or money to play them as much as I used to. But that's a game I wanted for a while, so I decided to go out and buy it. And that's what I did, just going off all the good reviews I heard. Now, I never played Bioshock 1 or 2, but this one looks so good that I just had to figure it out, you know? And, it's a pretty good game. It's actually, have you ever played any of the Bioshock games?
I played a little bit of the first one, that was it. Game froze on me, and then I never played it ever again.
Oh. Well, this one, I can't really say what takes from the first and second one. I mean, the very end of the game, you actually go to Rapture, the underwater city, just for like a minute. Which that was kind of a cool acknowledgement.
Yeah.
So I can't say like what, how it leads to that or anything, because I don't really know any of that stuff. But it's actually a pretty fun game. It's more than anything. I think the game, it's gameplay itself, it's pretty fun. It's more than anything, though, I think it's got a cooler story and a cooler setting, which kind of outweighs everything else.
The gameplay? Yeah,
I mean, the gameplay's still fine, but I think the fact that they have a story that kind of... It's actually...
You wouldn't say it played as smooth as, say, like Gears of War or Halo?
No, it wouldn't. You know what I mean? I mean, I'll say this. I like this probably more than, like, Halo, but at the same time, I think Halo had smoother controllers.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Fallout is, too. It's like, Fallout's one of those ones, like, if it didn't have the VAT system, that'd probably be a little too hard of a game to play because
Exactly.
like the first-person shooter part of it's not like perfect.
Exactly.
It's good enough to get by, but
I
feel like that's why that VATS was put in there because they're like, I don't know if we can sell it like this.
And then it moves smoother than aside from the VAT system, but something you really take for granted in other games because most first-person shooters this day and age, you automatically heal after hiding behind something for long enough. This one you don't.
Goes back to the old-fashioned style.
Yeah, which is cool in some sense, but in another sense, it's kind of like one of those things like you really realize, wow, I really took that for granted. But the thing is, what's cool is if you die, I mean, there's a point before you have the girl Elizabeth with you, and if you die before she's there, you just have this weird kind of like coming to thing where you're there's a flashback of you in your old office because you're a private eye, private investigator. So it'll be your hand at the door. It's all like kind of staticky and weird looking. You push open and you kind of like come like, oh wow, I almost died, but I'm back alive. Where once you get
that?
yeah, and you're kind of woken up in the middle of the battle and you're a little bit more healed, just a little bit more. But you lose money. That's the thing. When you actually get Elizabeth, who's actually a really good character. I'll jump on her in a second. It's you'll get knocked out and she apparently drags you off and you get images of her like, come on, don't die on me, like slapping you and like injecting you with something and you pull back in and it takes away money because you had to use a medical surprise in order to bring you back.
Okay.
So that's
you gotta do that like that. That's funny because the healing thing, like I love how like so many video games carried that over because in Halo it made total sense because it was your shields that were like recharging.
You have a shield in this that recharges.
Oh, okay. Because like in other games, it's just one of those ones like, especially like Red Dead Redemption. It's like, what shields are recharging?
But you just take it because like, it makes my job easier.
Yeah, you just gotta take it. Well, the only thing to do is like that kind of makes you more ballsier because then you can like run in and like whatever, I'll just duck and cover, wait 10 seconds. Okay.
We're here. If you there are moments where you could run in, just blast people away, but other moments where you'll just be like. It will just fucking, like, that'll get you killed.
Or, like, in an older game, like, say, like, Duke Nukem 3D or something, like, that would just fuck you over if you just went there and went,
oh, yeah.
Fuck, I just lost all my health.
That kind of happens in this one. But it's still a fun game. Elizabeth, I'll say this. I think Elizabeth might be probably one of the best female video game characters made.
Oh, yeah?
I say that because...
Better than Jill Valentine?
You know, I didn't play Resident Evil. Here's what I think's cool about her. Here's what I think's cool about Elizabeth. It's set in like 1912. You're in this alternate history of United States, flying city, a lot of kind of like steampunk, diesel punk type of stuff. A little bit of fantasy in there, more fantasy as it goes on. She has this power to like make, and it's kind of like this like something that a lot of video games don't do. I'm gonna go back to Elizabeth in a second, but something a lot of video games don't do. It actually touches on social matters. Like part of this was allegory. Like the bad guys are in some way kind of an allegory for the Tea Party.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of video games that actually do that. That's actually been pretty common in, like, games the last, like, 30 years.
But not just typical kind of like, we got to overthrow the revolution, we got to overthrow the government with a Viva Revolution and all that shit. It's actually more like, they actually start to bring in racism and all that into this game, which is something you don't really see in a whole lot of video games. I mean, I'm sure if you look long enough and hard enough, it's there. But you don't see it very
I guess
much.
because I've seen it quite a bit, so...
Well, what are some other games? I mean, aside from Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto always has racism, man. Well, I just think like all the old Nintendo games where they used to have like all the black and like Mexicans were bad guys.
Well, that's different. I'm talking about that's like 1950s Disney racism. That's kind of like we're unaware. Like the black guy is always player 2, or that's that old 1950s racism. Like, you know, if they're a white guy attacking you on the street, they look like a Beastie Boy. This is like I'm talking more like socially, kind of like you see kind of like signs, kind of like, you know, like.
Well, I guess they have in like Fallout and stuff too.
You see a little bit of that in Fallout, but I mean more like direct racism. That's like these fucking ghouls and the fucking super mutants. This is more like direct. This is aimed at like, you know, it's kind of like a very much of that kind of, you know, like, because what happens is the bad guys, they worship the founding fathers like they were like gods almost. So, and it's kind of interesting to see a video game tackle that stuff. So now as it goes on, like as I was saying, Elizabeth, what's cool about her is she's kind of like a Disney princess in a sense. In this like really unjust, really kind of like fucked up world, really. The thing about her is she's not like, it seems like most times in video games, the female character, she's either like, I need saving the whole, like every 5 minutes and I'm fucking stupid.
Leon!
Or, yeah, like Ashley, or she's generally just like a tomboy. That's the two usually seem to be.
Oh, yeah, they're the guys like, I'm here to fuck some shit up.
Okay, Jill, you know?
No, not Jill.
Not Jill, but yeah.
It's just like in some video games, it's just like they make the woman almost like...
Olga from Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
But no, it seems a lot of times they're either kind of like that, those two extremes, either kind of fucking helpless or too much of a badass, where she's kind of like right in the middle, but at the same time, like, there's a few parts where she's kind of like kidnapped, but it works for the story. It's not something stupid. She's with you most of the time. She's helping you out. She's really helpful. Like, she'll like, because she can see stuff in like other parallel worlds, so she'll bring in like weapons or guns from parallel worlds to help you out. Or like obstacles, you know, like she'll like transport like cover for you to hide behind or something like that. That she'll be like, where the fuck did that come from, you know? So she in the moments where she does help you out, or the moments where she does, where was I going with this? Give me a second.
The moments where she helps you out.
Moments where she helps you. Well, here's a good example. She like, some people are gonna like not like where I'm going with this for a second. She's a very feminine character, and that's kind of cool because she's very feminine, but very intelligent and very like resourceful at the exact same time. Where it seems like if you got a very feminine character, they're fucking helpless the whole time. That's what it seems a lot of video games. With this one, like, you know, she'll have trouble like saying, I can't get up there, give me a boost, or can you help me get this door open? She'll need help with that kind of stuff. But aside from that, she can get locks open. She's really smart because she's been locked in this tower her whole life. So she's done nothing but read books and examine and study stuff. So she knows a lot about medicine, how to help you. And plus, she can take care of herself.
She's like Anthony Hopkins in The Edge.
Yeah, like that, really.
Where it just like has like no like actual knowledge of like the outside world, but has read so much stuff that he can handle it.
Mm-hmm. And she has, as it goes on, because she starts off with this very kind of like bright-eyed, like, oh my god, it's so amazing here, because she's outside for the first time and she loves it. She just has that real Disney princess thing. But as it goes on, she becomes a lot more hardened, a lot more darkened, and becomes it's a very dark, bleak ending. I've been talking about this for a while, and I know that most people are like, move the fuck on. This has been out for 4 months now, but
it's just like, I found the light.
Yeah. I'm looking for the next one. I'll say.
Okay, I got Assassin's Creed 3 and it's still sitting there. It's just like, oh, I started up and it's like, okay, I got past the intro part.
That's the Native American one, right?
Well, I haven't even become a Native American yet, so God knows when that happened.
Are you still playing as Azio or whatever?
No, because that would be like hundreds of years before.
Well, I thought you were playing as a Native American in Assassin's Creed 3.
I think you are, but you started as an English person.
Oh, okay. We'll see what happens.
Racism.
Racism. Getting smaller and smaller each day, but whatever. Depending on what part of the country you're in. So what do you want to open up first?
Let's go up two guns, because you know.
We're going to go on for a while on the DC one.
Well, yeah, I spend a lot of time. I watched that twice and went through the special features, so I feel like that's a little bit more built up in my mind, where Two Guns is fresh and just want to get that through.
Yeah, alright, sounds good.
So Two Guns was really badass.
That
to me defines like a movie that I would make, or I feel like we would make.
We actually have
that style.
We do have like kind of like a buddy action comedy script. It's just a matter of
it's partially dark and
dark and so. We'll make it at some point. Don't know when, but I was thinking that. I mean, it's kind of like this to an extent was kind of like our scripts, only if our characters knew what the fuck they were doing.
Oh yeah, if they had like real jobs.
Yeah, let's put it that way. One of them was a SEAL intel investigator, I think, or SEAL intel guy, and another Navy SEAL. Navy SEAL.
They say Navy SEAL. I thought he was just in the Navy, like some other department.
Oh, Navy SEAL and Navy were the same thing, or came from the same area.
It is, but that doesn't mean it's the same thing, though.
Okay, well.
I just don't remember any of the Navy SEAL part being mentioned.
Well, Navy. He was from the Navy.
Yeah, he was from the Navy.
He was a Navy intel investigator, I believe, and then that was Marky Mark, and then Denzel was DEA. Which Marky Mark, I'll say this, I think Marky Mark was just. That guy is. I mean, I always liked him, but he is quickly becoming one of my favorite action stars.
Marky Mark he's just been good. Like, you know, I think about like since day one of his acting, pretty much is like it's just all good from there.
I always liked him, but I've been liking him a lot more in his recent movies. And I'll say this: it sounds like I'm being mean, but I just think it looks funny. He has the walkie walk.
Yeah, he does.
You notice Marky Mark's
in like all movies.
Yeah, he just kind of has the strut. Like most people look like a douchebag when they do it, but he actually looks pretty cool when he does it. It's like, oh, there's the walkie walk again.
And then what's his name from Twister? Bill Paxton was a bad guy.
Bill Paxton, yeah.
And he was like the CIA. So he had like that kind of great like twist. Plus, then there was the Mexican drug dealer guys. There
was kind of like a lot of like, we screwed over this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, and now they're all coming for us at the exact same time.
It was like the super Mexican standoff, really. That's really what it ended up being. It just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Till the very end, they had that huge blowout scene.
Which I gotta say, that guy that the girl that Denzel Washington was with, the Mexican girl, I was kind of like the whole time, when you realize who, because they acknowledge that she's seeing someone else, but she still fucks Denzel on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Who
like,
fucks
really?
Denzel on the side.
I was like, really? That guy? That guy? You got Denzel. You're going with that guy right there?
That really like nerdy and obnoxious guy is like, I'm a douche.
Yeah. Well, he was in the military. They got a cool point. They got across he could fight, but not nearly as well as Marky Mark or Denzel.
You know Denzel.
Yeah.
It's just really weird. Who puts Denzel in the corner?
Nobody puts Denzel in the corner.
You know, just kind of like Denzel.
He'll literally throw the corner at you. He'll rip it off the wall.
Denzel's just your fuck buddy.
Yeah. You don't do that. But no, this movie was awesome.
It's just badass all around. Just great act. It actually had more action than I thought was gonna be in it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't think there was gonna be as much like giant explosions and.
I mean, it's one of the some of the plot lines, some of the twists you can kind of see coming, but that's fine.
Well, that's just
it's a
movies in
movie.
general.
That's movies in general. I know, but I'm still defending the movie here. I'm saying that it's kind of like an homage to a lot. It's based on a comic book, but it's an homage to a lot of like 1970s action films, like by Sam Peckinpah or John Sturges or Dirty Harry flicks, something like that.
That's what it reminded me a lot of.
And that's the kind of movies I want to see more of because we've been seeing a few of them here and there. Like we saw Faster. I didn't see it, but that Hit and Run movie came out. Mm-hmm. So we've been getting a little bit more of these movies recently.
I think that kind of like 70s vibe of that kind of like modern day Western. Mm-hmm. I think one of the best genres there is. Mm-hmm. And I think that just works well. That rugged terrain, yet you got some modern guns and all kinds of stuff like that.
Usually involves a drug dealer, crooked cops. Always like that.
You know, mostly they're still going back and forth between America and Mexico. Mm-hmm. I just really dig that kind of movie.
I love that chase scene when he throws when they throw the Mexican cartel guy in the back of the car. In the back of the pickup. They slam the hood down.
Oh yeah.
He's just getting knocked in there. He's like, well, he's either dead,
or he threw up on himself.
Yeah, he's like, oh, he threw up on himself.
I love part two because like they go to the end where they're gonna play chicken. They're driving head on at each other, just floor to floor. At the last second, both of them decide, oh, this is a fucking bad idea. So they turn, slam up next to each other, and then they just start punching the shit out of each other.
Through the window, they just dies
Denzel jumps through. Yeah.
No, I totally dug this.
Just the action was great. The comedy was good. Mm-hmm. The explosions, the action.
That's how you're really going to see this movie. You're just going to see action.
Well, the story was great. Mm-hmm. The characters I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I just thought overall, it was all good.
Yeah, I'd like to see, because I don't know how far the comic went or if the comic's still going on, because sometimes they'll just buy like the rights to a very random, out of nowhere comic, like Men in Black. That's a comic book, but it was way different and it was way shorter. It only lasted like 12 issues or something like that.
Well, a lot of those ones too, you know,
So-
because I mean, a lot of comics too, especially those independent ones, like somebody just writes one story. It's not like it's ongoing, like because you think comic book, and sometimes you always just think it's like, oh, it must be ongoing. But a lot of those ones are just like, no, here's a graphic novel, which is equivalent of like 6 to 7 issues. That's the story.
Well, I went on to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia didn't know that. It's like, it knew the movie. It's like, oh yeah, it's based on a comic book, and there's no link to check out the comic book or no article on the comic book. So
I meant to check it on Amazon. I just kind of spaced out.
I like to check it out. I'd actually like to see more of this, because the way the movie ends is these guys are on the run from the law and from
the whole concept is there's this $43 million that Denzel and Marky Mark steal, and then it
just seems like
turns
the
out
most random
everybody
number.
wants it, and it's the CIA's money, their dirty money.
It just seems like we could have ended on 40 million, but we're going 43 million. You know?
I guess it's more believable. It's like instead of a solid number, let's just have a random number.
No. I understand why, but it's just one of those. It is just kind of one of those random numbers.
I don't know. Everything about it just seemed cool. Mm-hmm. What about some of those trailers? I thought that was one of the best runs of trailers I've seen in a long time. I mean, at least like 90% of those trailers were all like, I'm going to see that.
Maybe not Ride Along.
Which one's Ride Along?
The Ice Cube one.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was probably the one that was like, I think just like...
Didn't look bad.
It didn't look bad, but just compared to all the other ones too. Because I mean, like, there's like Machete Kills. And then we got a Riddick one, which looked really cool. And then, even though it was a short thing. And then there was the Simon Pegg, World's End.
World's End. Kick-Ass 2.
Yeah, Kick-Ass 2. And then they had like the new Ridley Scott movie, which was the Council.
I think The Counselor, then The American Hustle.
Yeah, and then American Hustle, the David O. Russell. It was just like, oh my god, there's movie after movie after movie. And they all look pretty badass. Even the Hugh Jackman one, I think was called like Prisoner. That actually looked pretty good. At first you kind of look like, yeah, whatever, hostage negotiation. But you're like, oh, Hugh Jackman's in it, and he's getting angry, and the cops aren't doing anything. So what's he going to do? He's going to Hugh Jackman it up.
Whenever I see like people who are in superhero movies now and other movies, I just can't help but just think of him
It's Wolverine's children.
Wolverine better get his children back, you know. And then like he's
Nobody takes Wolverine's children.
Yeah, and then they have the Cuba Gooding Jr. I believe was in the trailer to that movie, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was too.
And then like the main character. Look, the main character of the movie was not Spider-Man.
The guy who wishes he was
Prince of Persia. Yeah. So it's
Jake
kind of like
Gyllenhaal.
yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal. So it's like Prince of Persia, Wolverine. There's probably some. That movie had a lot of people in it, so I'm drawing blanks on some of them. But then there's Oldboy by Spike Lee.
Oh yeah, then there's Spike Lee's Oldboy, which
a lot of people. I'll say it. I never seen the original Oldboy. I want to, but if you're gonna get someone to remake a movie, you might as well get someone awesome like Spike Lee.
Yeah, because it's like one of those ones of. It's like I've seen Oldboy before. It's an interesting movie. Some people make it out like it's one of the top 10 greatest movies ever. Like they say it's up there in like that Star Wars category. It's like it's not that good.
I'll check it out.
It's interesting.
I want to see
it's
it.
It's more a movie. I think it's more interesting than it is anything else. I don't think it's amazing. I just think it's interesting.
Well, I still want to see that one.
Yeah,
I still want to see the Spike Lee one.
Yeah, you got to see that one. Even though like Oldboy has like, it has parts in the movie though, where they got like a whiteboard or a chalkboard or whatever, and they got all this like Korean writing on it. So I think it's Korean. I know it's not Japanese, so I think it's Korean. And there's no subtitles below that says what's on the board. So you're just kind of looking at it, and the characters are like, yeah, that's right, you know. You get it, right? And you're just kind of going, no. What?
It's important to the story.
It does that in the movie like a lot. Like somebody will pull out a book, and it's like, you really need to be able to read that title, apparently. And it's like, no subtitles there.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, it's okay. I wonder if the Spike Lee one's going to go into the incest part. Because that was the part where I was like, oh, incest.
I can see them taking that out. I don't really know. Like, was it like a cousin or a sister? Or
I think
was
it was a sister. I think it was a cousin. It was a cousin wouldn't seem that big of a deal. Like, oh, that just seems like Alabama.
It just seems like Jerry Lee Lewis right there.
Yeah. But I want to say it was like a sister.
I noticed that
apparently it's part of a trilogy too, and that's like the second one.
What's the is it Oldboy 2 technically, or is the first one called something else?
They're all called something different.
Well, regarding that for a second, regarding the incest thing, I just noticed maybe it's an Asian thing because I'm thinking like there's Chinese connection. And in that movie, Bruce Lee, he goes. What happens is he goes to work at an ice factory, and I believe it's in Thailand. That movie takes place, and he's living with his with a bunch of.
Talking about the Big Boss.
Big Boss, yeah, not Chinese Connection. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Big Boss. Big Boss.
Oh, I was thinking like you mentioned that earlier, and I was thinking Chinese Connection. I was like, is that?
No.
I was like for some reason I was thinking that was in the other one. No, whatever.
Fist of Fury here, Big Boss there.
Yeah.
Okay, so he goes there, and he meets a bunch of his cousins, and one of his cousins is a girl, and they're automatically trying to set him up with his cousin. It's like first reaction, and then like at some point he goes home with some other chick, and then they get all pissed off at him, arms crossed. Like, what's wrong with you, man? You didn't fuck your cousin the other night. Just like, what? Yeah, I was thinking maybe I just misheard that. Is that his cousin? Oh, sure enough, it's his cousin.
I think in like old timey world places.
Yeah, old timey being 1960.
No, not talking about that one. That one I think China might have carried over those traditions longer than other countries. But I think in old timey things it was like, yeah, you know, marrying your cousin, that's a good thing. Keep it in the family.
She's hot, right?
She's hot, right? I mean, well, I mean, you noticed as you were like, what, like 2?
Well, you maybe get a little awkward if you get a divorce and Thanksgiving comes around, but who knows?
You know, you're not going to come home?
Yeah. Family, bitch. Yeah.
But I think that's one of those things like, probably about the last 100 years, I think most countries have kind of like phased that thing out. I probably maybe even less than that, maybe like the last 60 years, because I think it was really popular before even in America. But
yeah.
So nowadays, marrying your cousin's weird.
I can see them taking that out of the movie right there. I mean, I know the movie is gonna be pretty violent. I saw the Red Band trailer; they showed a bit more, so I can see him taking it out. But at the same time, I can see him. It's
Spike Lee, so I can almost see him keeping it in because he seems to be pretty much a purist when it comes to that sort of thing. You know, he's not. If he can't do a movie his way, he's not going to do the movie at all.
That's the thing, though. I'm not sure if he really would care about that part. He might. He might not. I don't know. I know he was going to direct Ali, but then like Will Smith said, "Let's make it more commercial." He said, "Fuck you," and then walked away.
Yeah.
But so I can see him going either way on that one, but who knows?
I don't know. It actually looked pretty cool.
If it's really important to the story, I see him keeping it in there. If it's just one little thing, though, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because sometimes even Japanese things, even though there's a lot of Japanese things I like, it seems like sometimes they just throw weird shit in there for the sake of having weird shit. You know?
But no, make sure you check that one out. But check out the old boy.
And the new old boy
before you see new boy.
Okay. That was a cool trailer. I really liked it.
I really did too. Well, it was funny because at first I was watching this and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And then right at the very end, I was like, old boy. I was like, I had this like flashback of like all the scenes from the other one. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I guess because it looked a little bit different, but there's like that part though where he's in like the room for like 20 years in the beginning.
I just thought it was kind of funny. I know they didn't mean it this way, but they kept on. They have a television in there so he knows what's going on in the outside world. They showed the news. It showed kind of like just flashes through history, and it showed like President Clinton getting reelected.
He was like, oh
no! He's falling like his knees screaming. I know it's just a montage, just him going insane, being in there. But I just found that funny right there. Like, not Clinton, no! They show him like wrapped up hands, like punching the wall.
It was like 9/11. He's like, "Rah! Gotta do some pull-ups." It's the only way to overcome 9/11.
Barack Obama becomes president. Also, you see him talking to a rat, like, "Don't ever leave me."
What was that one? Do you remember that movie that was like? Did you ever have to read a book in school? It was called like Flowers for Algernon or.
That sounds very Flowers from Algernon or
something like that, and it was like
that sounds familiar.
I think it was about like an autistic person or something like that, and he had like a buddy. It was like a mouse, and they were both like in some kind of like mental hospital.
Oh,
or
was
something.
this maybe Of Mice and Men?
No, that's a completely different thing.
Okay.
No, this is no. I think that they changed the movie name to something else. Either that or that's the movie name. The book name something different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. For some reason, I don't know why, but that just reminded me of that when he's like looking at that mouse, like my buddy.
Yeah. I know the mouse is going on adventures with him.
Be badass.
Yeah. Did he have a mouse companion in the other one?
You know, I can't remember. It's one of those movies I saw once, and sometimes that's like, if you only see a movie once, sometimes it's like, I remember incest, and I couldn't read half the things. And
violence. I know there's like a long take. I actually saw like online.
Yeah, there's a sweet like
long take where he's fighting a guy with just a hammer, just like a side angle. These guys are running at him.
Yeah, it's like a 2D fighting game, or like a 2D like beat 'em up game.
Yeah, it's
really cool.
It looks kind of like the shot similarly to The Protector when he's just walking for a while. He's going up. The
long scene where he's going up the stairs.
Protector amped that one up by a lot. But he's going up the stairs, and it just has one long take of him just walking from room to room, just kicking fuckers left and right.
That is literally probably, I'd say, top 5 best scenes ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of those ones, like, I don't know how much you could argue that one. Like, literally, look at that thing.
Ong Bak, I think, is a better movie, but Protector definitely has, like, the best scene.
Yeah, I think Protector, though, is Ong Bak. I think they're very close. I probably could say Ong Bak's better, but both those movies are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Protector's so sad. I think it's one of the saddest movies of all time, too.
Guy loses his elephant.
Well, just the very end when he's, like, there and he sees, like, the elephant that he's, like, grown up with and raised, and it's, like, just a skeleton.
Is this bitch's, like, mantle or whatever?
Yeah, and he, like, breaks down, he's on his knees, like, crying, and just like, no!
At least he still has the baby elephant at the end.
Yeah, at least he still has that, still, like, a buddy, but still, I was like, that's one of the saddest scenes ever. That, and, like, the scene, like, in Tarzan with Christopher Lambert.
He was my father! There's, like, the other scene in, this isn't Ong Bak, this isn't really a sad scene, but there's a part in Ong Bak, I was watching that the other day, where they have, like, the chase scene on the golf cars.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was thinking, like, because that
movie's so where he runs up, like, the glass wall thing and backflips off, and he's like, and the guy just keeps driving through, which I always thought was like, it's a cool scene, but why does he keep driving just straight through?
Yeah, exactly. See him coming, but, you know.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm gonna get this fucker!
No, it's just funny to me, because, like, all right, guys, we're gonna have that awesome chase scene. Yeah, man, we got, like, a Charger and a Viper, right? Well, you see the budget kind of ran out on the scene where Mad Dog comes out and he starts chucking shit. He just improvised. He really wasn't supposed to chuck all that shit. We all had to pay for that. That was all rental. So
that set us back.
That set us back some. So we're not having the chase scene? No, we're having a chase scene. We're using golf carts. Just saying that right now. Keep your hopes low. But it's okay. We're gonna have the most badass ending for any kung fu movie at the end.
No, yeah, that one's badass. But
then
speaking of chase scenes,
also Kick-Ass 2.
Oh yeah, there's Kick-Ass 2.
Which same trailer, they just had the extra scene where the bullets at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Which that one looks like it's gonna be much better than the first one, because the first one's one of the movies like I have like the biggest mixed feelings about that movie. Right? There's parts that I think are like 4 out of 4, and then there's parts I really don't like at all in that movie. And it's just kind of like it's like a toss of my emotions.
Here's the tragedy of both Kick-Ass 1 and 2. I mean, both Kick-Ass 1 and 2. Kick-Ass the comic and Kick-Ass the movie. And I like them both. I'll say I like the movie a little bit more. And here's the reasons why. Kick-Ass, the comic book. Kick-Ass, yeah, he's really fucking nerdy, but he has a little bit more balls. He's a little bit more of a stronger character. He's not as nerdy. Where in Kick-Ass, the movie, he almost gets overshadowed by everybody else when you get to the last act of that movie. I don't hate Kick-Ass, but there are moments where he's just kind of annoying, and he's more or less just there because his name's in the title. And it feels when like Hit Girl and Big Daddy overshadow, and even like McLovin kind of overshadow him in the movie, in my opinion. And it's not nothing on the actor; it's just the way he was written. Because I think that guy's a pretty good actor. And then you get to but the thing with the Kick-Ass comic though, what I think's wrong with that is Kick-Ass is probably Hit Girl's the best part.
Well, yeah, Hit Girl and Big Daddy are the best parts.
Hit Girl and Hit Girl in the comic.
And the thing is, in the comic book, I actually don't like Hit Girl and Big Daddy nearly as much though, because I don't like the way they're kind of written.
I think Hit Girl's fine. Big Daddy,
I like.
Hit Girl's written fine. Big Daddy though is written because it's a kind of a twist at the end. Big Daddy's kind of a pussy. We find that out.
Yeah, and that to me just kind of like it ruins what makes him so cool.
We never actually, because it plays it off like he's a badass, but we find out that he was trained the girl, and he really wasn't a badass that whole time. He was actually very much of like a nerdy guy who just kind of came up with this big elaborate story. He was actually, I think he was an accountant or something like that.
Yeah,
and he invested in comic books, and he just won. And then like he goes out totally like a bitch. Where in the movie he's just killing fuckers.
Which is badass the whole way through, and he takes it like a man at the end when he dies.
Yeah, where he doesn't at all in the comic. So it's kind of like Kick-Ass way better in the comic, but everything else around Kick-Ass, with the exception of like Hit Girl, is kind of like not as good as it is in the movie.
Well, I think in the second one though,
comic has a lot more. The comic is way more violent. I love the gore and the action in the comic, but regardless. Yeah, I still like the movie a little more, but yeah, you're saying?
And the second one, I mean, the downfall is that Big Daddy's not in it, but I think that one could be better, though. I think that hopefully...
Jim Carrey looks good as Captain Stars and Stripes. I want to read... I grabbed like the Kick-Ass 2
I see it
comic.
a couple times, it's like, I wouldn't mind reading through it.
It's finally in paperback, and I picked it up one time, I flipped through it, I'm like, oh, I already got 2 major spoilers just from flipping through it. I just think it was the same artist or anything. But regardless, I still want to check that comic out, and I still want to check out that movie when it comes.
But the movie's only 3 weeks away, so...
Yeah, I'm going to try and
get the comic
before then. Yeah.
But, I don't know. Looks like that one could be much better than the first one.
I still like
the
first one.
at least more even than the first one. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
My only problem with the first one is just Kick-Ass, really. I know that's a big part of it, but just Kick-Ass. I don't even hate Kick-Ass. He's just part of the biggest part.
He's just written too stereotypical. They take every bad flaw of a nerd and they put them all into him. I just think that's like one of those ones it's just not that realistic.
And Chris Michael Pence, I thought that he did a fine job as Red Mist. I thought he was fine, and I think he's actually better in the movie than he is in the comics. In the comic, he's just like kind of like a fucking irritating kind of nerd. He just wants to screw everything over. Where I like in the movie, he's actually conflicted. Like, do I want to be a superhero or do I want to follow my dad's footsteps?
Yeah.
I thought that was more better. Where in the other one, he's just like, I'm a douchey little nerd.
So hopefully Kick-Ass 2 will be pretty badass.
Yeah.
But speaking of like real superheroes,
oh boy, here we go.
They finally made the Flashpoint movie.
They did.
And they had to call it Justice League Flashpoint Paradox. But still, Flash got his own movie, goddammit.
It's about fucking time.
You know.
I can say.
He deserves it. Everybody else kind of got one just about. Wonder Woman,
not
obviously
Aquaman.
Batman. Yeah, Aquaman's the next one who needs a movie, though. But everybody else, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, obviously. Now Aquaman needs one.
I'm glad they finally got I mean, it's kind of sad they just gonna call it Flashpoint or Flash,
They'll probably, I think the main reason they didn't just call it straight up Flashpoint, though, is because there's that Flashpoint TV show.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad, though, when you type Flashpoint in on Amazon, that movie comes before the Flashpoint TV show. Nothing wrong with the TV show.
I never even seen the show.
But I just feel like, to me, it's one of those ones like, Flashpoint. There's no Flash in the show.
Yeah. You feel ripped off.
Yeah. Though I've never watched it, but...
But no, what is that show anyway?
I have no idea.
Cop show or something?
I think so.
All right. Well, anyway, this one...
They ain't got the Flash in it.
Ain't got the Flash. I don't give a fuck, Now, I'll say this. Flash is probably one of my favorite deep comic book characters out there.
Yeah,
and I thought
really
this movie was pretty badass. I'd say it's just as good as the comic. I think the movie does some things better, and I think the comic does some things better. But
I think that's always kind of how they sort of are.
And I think this breaks even ultimately, and how good they both are. And really good, awesome flick. I think this is actually a movie you could show to someone who doesn't even really know a whole lot of DC, and just show it this because you kind of learn everything you need to know, and it's a very dark, compelling story.
Yeah.
You kind of pick up right off the bat. Like there's a scene at the beginning which I like because it shows Flash in his element. It shows all of Flash's characters. Because when I first saw the trailer to the movie, I was not the behind the scenes look, but the trailer, I saw a lot of Flash films. Like, how far away are they deviating away from the actual story? But there's actually the scene they add at the beginning, which they take a scene from Flash Rebirth, which is where it shows him finding out his mother dying, and then actually the scene from Flash Rebirth is where
the Flash Museum.
Not the Flash Museum, no. I mean, that happens a bunch of times. That the rogues attack the museum, but they're on the side of the road right when the movie opens up, and his mom
yeah.
That's right out of Flash Rebirth, right there, and then it leads into current day Flash after he finds out his mom's murdered, and then I think they're just doing that just to say, all right, for those of you who don't know, here's just most of the stuff you need to know about the Flash right off the bat.
Well, yeah, and I think is what it does. It gives a moral that Flash needs to learn by the end of the movie. That's really what that sets it up for.
Well, I think that the action right there, the villains, just like here's a scene, you can just get an idea of what Flash is.
Yeah, I think that's like let's describe Flash in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I thought that scene worked good. The other because he goes up against like all the villains, and then not all those villains.
Well, his major ones, I guess.
They didn't have all the major ones in there. They had
Captain Cole. They had
Captain Cole,
Captain Boomerang.
Captain Cole, Captain Boomerang, and then Mirror Master. I don't know, but they had
Professor Zoom.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like they had Heat
Gorilla
Wave.
Grodd is a Flash character, right?
Gorilla Grodd, I believe, is Flash.
That's what I always thought that too, but I never see him.
He's too big to be like he kind of needs his own movie. That's how big Gorilla Grodd is. You can't just have him. Oh, hey, look, there's Grodd.
Well, plus he wouldn't just show up a bunch of those guys.
Yeah, he hates humans, so he never really works with them too much. But they didn't have like Trickster or Weather Wizard. It was more like I thought it was weird that you're using Top of all the Flash villains. You're using Top. I always thought he was kind of lame. And the Heat Wave, I guess you see Heat Wave here and there, but I never really.
Well, I always think of him as kind of a main one too, Heat Wave.
In the Flash books I never really seen him pop. He pops up here and there, but he was never as. The one thing I gotta say, I'm not gonna complain too much because you only got 5 minutes to show. I didn't think they did a good job of capturing like Captain Cold so much because they made Captain Cold out to be kind of skinny and kind of like a bitch when Captain Cold's really
like his main villain, just about.
I'd say. Let me put it this way.
Well, I guess his main villain going all the way back because it's like
it's going all the way back
because it's like his first big villain.
Captain Cold's, I would say that's his oldest villain. That's probably one of his memorable villains. His Flash's Joker, you'd say, is Reverse Flash.
Professor Zoom,
Reverse. It gets confusing. I'll get to that in a second. Flash just gets really fucking confusing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's kind of like almost like in a sense. Let me describe this in a Spider-Man way. If Green Goblin is kind of like Spider-Man's old enemy, Venom is kind of like that kind of bounce off, and that's almost like what Reverse Flash sort of is. He's kind of like the Venom to Flash. I'm not saying like exactly, but because Venom's not.
I guess you can say that.
Venom's not really that. He's kind of similar. They both have kind of the same.
They're two very personal. They're two very personal villains. I guess you could say that.
Yeah, because, I mean, saying like their costume looks the same.
They have like a long vendetta. Captain Cold and Flash have a long vendetta, but at the same time, the thing I like about the Rogues, I can't say about older comics, but like 90s and up is where I've been reading Flash at. It's been kind of scattered. It's not as much as Batman or Superman, but. When I have read of Flash, the Rogues, they don't seem kind of like, we want to take over the world. They're more of just kind of like, I'm not going to get a fucking minimum wage job. I happen to know a lot about science. I'm going to knock over this bank. Or I'm going to take a job.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, the Rogues, they're just more about, like, I really don't want to work.
They're career criminals.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about them.
Because it's different.
There's a scene, like, in Blackest Night, because there's two Captain Boomerangs. The original Captain Boomerang eventually becomes a wash-up. And dies. He actually kills Tim Drake's father. And his son comes in and takes the place of Captain Boomerang and becomes the new Captain Boomerang. And during the Blackest Night thing, I read a few issues of that. There's actually a scene, which I think, because, everybody, like, all the people that died come back more or less as superpowered zombies, more or less.
Yeah.
And there's a part where Captain Boomerang has his dad, the new Captain Boomerang has his dad down in the pit. And he's throwing people down there for him to eat, just kind of trying to hold him off. And there's a scene where the other rogues come, like, you've been keeping your father down here this whole time? Like, yeah, I have. Like, who have you been using? They notice there's, like a woman's heel. Like a woman's, like a long heel. And then, like, a teddy bear. He says, you weren't using women and children, were you? He doesn't say anything. He's just like, the Rogues do a lot of fucked up shit, but we don't kill women and children. They then kick him right into the hole. And I think that...
well, I like those characters, they have a lot of morals like that, too.
Captain Cold right there, that's why he's always been one of my favorite villains. And then there's another part
Well, it's kind of like Captain Cold, like Jeff Johns even would say, like, Captain Cold's kind of guy, like, he would frown on somebody doing drugs or something like that. It's like,
He
whoa,
does.
whoa, whoa, whoa! It's like you don't do that.
He literally does. There's a scene.
He's a criminal that has like morals and like a higher ground, yet he is still doing the wrong thing.
There's a scene where like Mirror Master is like in a bathroom with bloodshot eyes, just kind of kicking back. Cold butt, like, what are you doing in there? Knocks the door, busts in there, like starts kicking the shit out of him, like, you don't do drugs. It throws us off our game. Like slams his face into the mirror. So it's one of those kind of things. I think that I think there's only so much you can get at that beginning, but still, I kind of like my Captain Cold being a little like thicker and grizzled and kind of like angry the whole time.
Yeah, he's more just kind of there to be there.
Yeah. I think they're like, okay, here's a couple of villains you might recognize.
I think it's just to speed everybody up, kind of like.
Yeah, which I get that, but seeing him, the part when like, it was kind of a funny line, but when Wonder Woman's like, you best tuck it in, he's like, ah! Like Captain Cold wouldn't do that. He wouldn't be like, he wouldn't have that, look on his face, but whatever.
Whatever, it's Wonder Woman.
I'm not gonna let that.
Then again, though, like there's a woman that's like 5 inches taller than you and like bigger and muscular than you and has been alive for thousands of years. You'd probably be like, well.
No, I get it. No, trust me, I get it.
I mean, like I've never had an Amazon look down upon me.
With bulletproof braces that could fly and make me say anything with a lasso, but you know.
Just pointing a freeze gun at my crotch.
But still, at the same time, I'm just like, Captain Cold wouldn't do that. He'd like bring it on, but whatever. Moving on, though. I'm not going to let that bring it down. I went on a big rant on Captain Cold, but no, this is an awesome flick, and I think that they took a lot of the best parts from the comic and put in there. Like, some of the stuff they took out, I don't mind. Like, it was more like the characters they took out of the original book and the ones they switched it up with was actually kind of a good choice. Like, I did not... I mean, I didn't hate her, but I didn't mind. They took out Element Girl. Didn't bother me.
Oh, yeah. Well, the one thing I like about when they do these DC movies, though, I like... They kind of just get to that point. You know, and that's the thing is, like, sometimes they take some characters out where you're like, well, that was kind of cool, but if you really think about it, you're like, well, it's sort of a side story that it affects the main story, but it's not, like, it's necessary. It's almost like a deleted scene.
Yeah.
You know? So they just focus straight on what's important, like, what's part of the main story. And then kind of go with that. And I would say that's kind of how it is with all the DC movies.
Well, even this one, it seems like this is probably longer than most of the DC movies. This movie is actually an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's, like, it's about the same length as I think about like the Dark Knight ones.
Which they're getting longer, which is cool. Let me actually reiterate.
Or the Dark Knight Returns. Let me rephrase that too.
I knew what you meant. It's long for the DCU movies. Let's put it that way. The DCU animated flicks. Which this one,
I guess it's long as it's about 5 minutes longer than some of the other ones.
Yeah, which you can get a lot done in 5 minutes. It shows.
In animation, I don't know what it is. 5 minutes is like the equivalent of like 10 minutes in live action.
It shows for whatever reason. It really does feel like you just got done watching an hour and 30, 40-minute movie, but it goes by so quickly.
Well, lots of those movies, like, to me, it's like, yeah, they're under 90 minutes, but they feel longer than, like, some 2-hour-long live action movies.
And when I say longer, I'm not saying longer as, it's such a fucking drag. I'm saying because like, they get so much in there.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, I thought the stuff they added into it was, they like, there's the part when they have, like, Deathstroke's pirate ship cutting through like sunken Europe. Mm-hmm. It's a very quick scene, very just to show like how ruthless Aquaman is in this parallel universe. Mm-hmm. But then when they actually, he just pops up and just stabs everyone, they're dead. That's all it is. I like we actually get a full-on scene. We don't get to see Deathstroke go out so much like a bitch. You also get some extra...
You get Lex Luthor, who's played by Steve Blum.
You get Black Manta coming in, zapping fuckers. You get Cheetah coming in. Mm-hmm. You get a bunch of other characters, and they had, like, there's some characters, like, there's Icicle in the background, whatever. They gave Clayface a little bit of a part in that scene.
Yeah, that was cool. It's small things like that, the little touches. That,
yeah.
They really kind of like, oh, that's cool,
Mm-hmm. No, and then they had Coulter from that was the Aqualad from Young Justice in there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They
had that one. Didn't they have the other Aqualad too, like the original Aqualad?
The real Aqualad, yeah.
Yeah.
And because like the whole thing here's a cool thing I'll just say is about Young Justice. Young Justice, what's interesting about that is it's not just kind of like the show's aware. It's like, look, it's not going to follow the comic book exactly, so don't be surprised if the role is kind of switched up by someone else. Because in that one, it's like, oh yeah, this isn't Earth 1 or 2. This is like Earth 13 or something like that.
Okay,
Earth 9 or something. They actually acknowledge that. So I like how the show's like, look, don't bitch about us if this Robin isn't the same Robin or something like that.
Now, which Robin did they use in that one?
Actually, I used all three. The ones I saw. I only saw season 1 and parts of season 2.
And they used Dick Grayson in season 1,
Season 1 was Dick Grayson. By the time season 2 comes around, I think Jason Todd was already dead, and Tim Drake's the new Robin. By this time, Dick Grayson is Nightwing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And they're leading the new Young Justice team. The
So
old
it almost
Young
kind of
Justice.
it goes almost like Teen Titans and turning into like Outsiders, but ever changed the name, sort of.
Yeah, it's not all the same team. It's not all the same members of the Outsiders, but yeah, generally.
Yeah, I mean, just a general rule of thumb.
Yeah, no Metamorpho or Black Lightning, which I like Black Lightning, but yeah. Metamorpho's kind of cool too, but anyway. What was I saying? Flashpoint, yeah. I actually, there's the scene, we should actually probably, because we've been going off topic as if we already saw the movie, we should actually acknowledge what the movie's generally about.
Yeah, the main plot.
The main plot, yeah.
The main plot of that movie is pretty much that Flash goes back in time and saves the one person he really likes most, which is like his mom, which he doesn't really notice this at first. He keeps thinking it's Professor Zoom the whole time, and that changes everything, which... You gotta almost like take that for like a second. Like, I don't know if that really changed everything. You change things around Central City. I'm not too sure if, for some reason, the coordinates of Superman's ship's gonna be thrown off that far. But still, for a story though, it works really well. So everything's changed, and now he's in this alternate reality. In a sense, it's the same time period, just changed because of the past has been changed. Well, the butterfly effect, I guess you could say.
Yeah, which is something they actually do say, because Professor Zoom or Reverse Flash, because there's two of them, it gets kind of confusing. Whichever one this is, I think this is Reverse
They call
Flash.
them both names in it, actually.
Yeah, it gets fucking confusing. Yeah, but he says when you break the sound barrier, you make a sonic boom. You break the time barrier, and he says time boom. And that changes everything all the time altogether. So it changes stuff. I mean, it's pseudoscience, it's all bullshit. But regardless, it's still interesting. It makes good for the story right there. Mm-hmm. They acknowledge it for a second. Like, yeah, we know, but just go with it.
Yeah, because most ones
you're the last 10 minutes of the movie. Just fucking take it, you know.
Yeah, but no, overall, it's just he's got great action, and plus the pretty much I think almost like one of the coolest elements other than Flash himself in the movie though.
I know this is going.
The new Batman though. In a sense, it's Thomas Wayne Batman.
Which Kevin Smith said this in a podcast a little bit ago, but he's 100% right, because when you think about it, because what ends up happening is, since Barry Allen, the whole thing with Barry Allen like saving his mom, that's a twist. It comes back at the end. He just wakes up one day.
Well, that's what makes the paradox part.
That's what makes the paradox, yeah. And he wakes up one day, everything's fucked up, he doesn't have his powers, and he's slowly realizing this is some alternate world. Then he realizes when it's not an alternate world, this is his world, he gets really scared, and that, because Professor Zoom said, look, you went back in time, don't you remember?
Yeah, it's like, then he goes like, well, wait, my mom's alive? Mm-hmm. And his mom's like, you're gay! And then it's funny, he's like, you're gay, the first thing he does, like, I gotta go see if I have a girlfriend still.
And he's like, yeah, the girl walks right past them and goes to her husband with the daughter and all that.
I'm just waiting for this, like, fuck, someone's gonna come around the corner at some point.
I was just waiting, like, hey, Barry! You know? Oh, shit, it's Cosmic Boy.
Fuck.
Is that boy
have some standards, goddammit.
Why Cosmic Boy? Like, why anybody from the fucking Legion?
Yeah.
And no, what was I gonna say?
But then after he realizes that, oh, maybe I am gay, then he's like, well, whatever, I'll just go check on Bruce.
I don't even think that happened. I think it was one of those things like, I don't think it was like he was gay in that world. I think it was
his
like
mom just thought that, like,
because he didn't have a girlfriend, so I think his mom just assumed he was gay.
It's like, Barry, you're 38 years old, you don't got a girlfriend.
I think what happened is he went home because he was. He looks younger than that. Maybe he is like 30 years.
You spend the weekends at my house every day or every week.
He is kind of a mama's boy, but you know, that actually I thought the kind of like the Barry Allen and his mother like story was always kind of sweet. You always kind of saw you always kind of feel bad for him whenever there's a flashback and all that. Mm-hmm. And
he's such a happy guy.
Yeah.
There's that tragedy that kind of led him there.
We got some Flash stories planned for Drunk Batman in the future. We won't say.
He's not as happy though as Wally. Wally's like the almost like he's so happy. There's like nothing wrong in his life, I don't think. Well, because his parents are alive, and he's just like, this is great.
I wouldn't say that because most of the Flash I've read is Wally. I think that the thing with that is the second you put Flash in the Justice League, because it's the way with a lot of comics. Mm-hmm. The second you put this group of people all together at once, you gotta define them each more than the other.
They gotta have a little bit more like defining characteristics, I guess.
Wally and Barry are usually Barry more so is usually the goody two shoes. Wally is the funny guy.
Yeah, he's the funny, happy guy.
Who's
just friends with everybody.
Where if you read Flash, he'll have some funny lines here and there, but generally he is kind of as just tormented and like distracted as like Barry.
As everybody else.
Yeah.
They kind of do that with Green Arrow sometimes too, because sometimes when they put him in the Justice League, then he starts becoming kind of a smart ass, which is like, I don't picture Green Arrow being a smartass as much. I like my Green Arrow a little bit more angrier and serious.
I see him being kind of both. Being smartass, yeah. Well, he's.
I guess because like when you see him like regular Green Arrow stuff, he's not really a smartass. But sometimes when he gets mixed in the Justice League, then he becomes more of a smartass.
I see him being kind of a smartass, but more in the aspect of it being kind of like, not kind of like, hey, look at me, I'm Robert Downey Jr. from Iron Man. Not nothing to that level.
Not that smartass.
But I mean, more to the level of kind of like that Justice League Unlimited episode. Like he looks at Captain Adam. I'm pretty sure you're what I marched against back in college.
Oh yeah, well yeah, like that kind of stuff.
You like that goes more like those smart ass kind of lines, or kind of like that's not what I have. That's not what I was dreaming of the other night. Looks over at like Black Canary.
Speaking of Justice League Unlimited, really quickly, there's like that Flash episode. Where
That's a good episode.
The Flash like his museum opens up and he like runs inside. He's like, "Hey Batman, you gonna show up to my thing?" And Batman's just sitting there like, "What are you doing here?"
I don't know why.
The first thing he says.
Because nobody can go except Batman.
And then I like how this Batman breaks down. I'm like, I guess we get. And then he tells like Orion, who like every single time I've ever seen Orion in comics, he's like a horrible character. He's a guy who just like ends up murdering a lot of people, and like they're like, dude. He's like, this is what I was born to do. What the fuck?
He has a little like kind of like
he's
flying
like
scooter,
flying like
flying scooter thing.
Right? Almost like the flying scooter almost looks like it's a flying like a walker.
It does.
It looks like a futuristic walker.
He's Darkseid's son, so naturally he's gonna have some bad sides to him.
Yeah, because remember there was this one I can't remember what it was like, some like 1989 like Justice League one. I think it was like called Cosmic Odyssey is which one it is. I think that's the one. And Superman's like, okay, I'm gonna go down underground and disarm the bomb. You should just stay up here, just kind of watch. And they're like on Thangar and stuff. And when Superman comes back up, he just looks and everybody's killed. He's like, what the fuck?
I got bored.
Yeah, that was pretty much what it was. Like, what? They came after me. He's like, you don't kill them, you just knock them out and just beat the shit out of them. So they go home crippled and think about it.
That's truth, freedom, and the American way, goddammit.
That Cosmic Odyssey had some funny stuff in it. That was just like the part where like, because everybody split up in the groups. And Green Lantern, as in like John Green Lantern, and then
Team
John's. Yeah, Team John. They're going off, and then at one point, John told Martian Manhunter, I'm going to say it like that instead. He's like, whoa, I got this. You just hang back. He's like, no, I do not think this was a good idea. He's just like, whoa, whatever. He puts him in like a green capsule, like, see ya, fuck off.
Flipping the bird.
He's like, yeah, right. Like, Green Lantern can't handle it. Do. And then he flies up, and the entire like nuclear reactor, or whatever the thing is like, it's all yellow. He's like, I can't do it. And then it blows up. And then it's just fucking Martian Manhunter just standing there. Explosion goes by. Planet's entirely destroyed. Just kind of like, see? You need help.
Fuck up.
Fuck up. Team John, not good idea.
Too many Johns for one team.
But back to Flashpoint.
No, but
Is Martian Manhunter in Flashpoint?
no, he's not.
I didn't think so.
But
sometimes when you just watch too much stuff at once, it just starts like becoming
merge.
one.
I'll say this real quick about that Flash episode. Even though I liked the episode because they actually had that was Wally Flash right there.
Yeah, well, that's Wally Flash in the Justice League Unlimited.
They're similar, but no. But I liked how I liked what the part like they doing the voice of the Trickster was actually Mark Hamill because Mark Hamill played him in the old '90s TV show.
Mm-hmm. I remember that TV show. I haven't seen it since it like premiered, but
like that's a good example of how I think Captain Cold acts is in that episode right there at the beginning. You know, he's like, I'm not gonna bag groceries for a living. You know?
You got a mortgage to pay.
Yeah. But anyway,
back to Flashpoint.
There's the other part which the whole concept of that. I'm not even sure if we got to this. Did we say that it was actually Thomas Wayne? That Bruce was killed in Crime Alley.
We didn't mention Bruce was killed yet. We just said it was Thomas Wayne.
Yeah, Bruce was killed in Crime Alley that night. Martha and Thomas survived. And this wasn't mentioned in the comic, I don't believe, but in the movie it implies that Martha becomes like Joker because she goes insane.
Oh, is that what happens there? I couldn't remember because I was trying to think back to the comic because I only read it once and it was like 2 years ago.
That whole part where they show everything, where they actually.
And I was confused. I was like, did she just get laughing gas or did she actually just become?
I think she became insane from just the grief right there, and it's like, oh, she's going to become the Joker. So. And then we go on to because that's like one of the best parts of it is because actually one thing they did change I'm totally fine with because he just looks so cool with it is he's running around with a gun and the Flashpoint.
Well, it makes sense because like an older person would be like, what are you crazy? It's like that part in Batman Earth 1 where like Alfred's like, what do you mean you're not taking a gun? What are you a fucking idiot?
Which if you,
and I just feel like that's kind of like an older person thing.
In early Bob Kane Batman books, he did walk around with a gun, but eventually they got rid of that.
Yeah.
But I just thought
because at first he's almost like private eye with a costume on.
Yeah, exactly. Where in this one, I thought it was cool that he didn't use a gun in the comic, and I mean in the Flashpoint comic he didn't use a gun, but I think the gun actually helps it a lot more. It makes it seem that much more darker. It gives more of a difference between the two of them aside from the little red he has on the suit.
Yeah, and then he's got
pointy
the
shoulders.
Yeah, the pointy shoulders. Mm-hmm. And then he's just got like the super he's got like the Fred Flintstone beard going really.
He does actually. He's a lot thicker. He's a lot bigger and thicker than regular Batman in this.
Yeah.
And then another thing about it is, when you think about it, Kevin Smith said this. He made a good point, and it's true because when Bruce Wayne, when his parents die, he's like, I don't ever want this to happen again. I'm going to make sure no one's parents are ever killed again. Mm-hmm. But you think about it, that is very much of a child's kind of perspective. Mm-hmm. But when you're a father and you just lost your son, you're going to go fucking apeshit and just kill everything.
Yeah. Well, that's what I just love, because that scene was just punching the shit out of that guy who killed his son
until his fists were bloody.
Bleeding,
you know that guy's skull's crushed in.
Uh-huh.
And I like the part when because this is in the comic too, when he's fighting Yo-Yo, who I'm assuming is that world's Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
He's like, where's Judge Dent? Like, who knows? He's probably already dead. He's like, then so are you. Just chucks her right off the thing.
Well, I like that. It's one of those that's I know it's a very tragic story. It seems kind of weird to say I want to see more of this Thomas Wayne Batman.
I do want to see more of that.
I know
they have standalone
that would make cool as a standalone comic.
Well, they have when Flashpoint came out, they said more from the world of Flashpoint. It was one issue devoted to a couple of random characters here and there. There's a Batman one in there, but it's not all Batman story.
Is it Thomas Wayne Batman still though?
Yeah, it's still Thomas Wayne Batman.
See that'd be cool.
There's Superman. There's there's the ones they show, and then people that I guess we didn't see, like Zatanna and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So
that's pretty cool then, because it's just one of those ones you could write a full on just this alternate reality Batman where it's Thomas Wayne instead, just the things he does. I mean, it doesn't have to be go on forever, but where he doesn't have a problem killing his villains, and he doesn't have but he's an alcoholic and.
But at the same time, I guess it's kind of cool because, and this proves it wrong. I mean, I guess this could take away some of the romanticism or some of the.
It's almost like a Punisher version of Batman,
Punisher.
Really.
Yeah, but they bring in the aspect Batman. If you killed people, all these problems would be gone. You don't have to worry about it. We see even with a Batman that kills people, all these problems are still there. So I guess it almost justifies him not doing or killing, even though there's time and waiting for him to actually finally just snap, say fuck it, like he does in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. And
then I thought Michael B. Jordan did a good job with Cyborg.
Yeah, he did.
I like that.
I like how they make so Cyborg in the alternate reality he's huge.
Yeah.
He's 10 foot tall.
They did make more of a distinguishable difference between characters in this one and the alternate world, because the other one, the comic, they were very much just kind of little things look different about him, but he's still Thomas Wayne still looked like Batman physique, but this one he's just
red, yeah.
But this one
look
just
huge,
yeah. And where Vic, he looked more kind of oh yeah, he's cyborg, but he looks a little different.
Or this one they made him you can tell that since he's government funded, he's the best of technology possible.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's just huge, and he pretty much just takes over what Superman's job is because Superman's not there. Mm-hmm.
And the whole part with Superman was, they changed, there's small differences, but overall the series kind of runs exactly the same way. But I actually want to talk about Reverse Flash for a second. Ebor Thawne. I think, where are we at on time?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. We're Ebor Thawne. I thought they did a good job with him in this, because sometimes I noticed they, at least the stories I've read with him, he never really seemed like, he seemed like this kind of kid who had all this power, but not really in control. What I mean by that, he's kind of kind of a douche, I fucked up your life, but then he had more power than he knew he had and didn't know how to control. At least that's how it came to me. Where in this one, the guy that voiced him and the way they wrote him, he seemed much more of kind of like a Hannibal Lecter. Yeah,
I guess you could see that. He just loved to see actually him, in a sense, not really almost doing anything wrong. And watching the Flash suffer because it's he's the one who did this.
Yeah. Well, it is one of those things. Well, I mean that more in a sense because he actually had all the perfect words. He knew what to say to get under his skin. Where the other one, he didn't seem to have that. I guess as much he didn't. At least the books I read with Thawne, he didn't really seem to have as much psychological background in that aspect. He seemed to be more of just kind of say, yeah, kind of like that. And when this one, I actually found him to be a lot more threatening and a very well written character.
Yeah, no, I like the way he was in this a lot. Professor Zoom's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He just really reverse palette.
Well, the thing with Professor Zoom is with me. There's two Professor Zooms, and there's Reverse Flash from Professor Zoom. And
now is Reverse Flash the one? Because I know one of them is just the same thing as the Flash, just he's evil, and then the other one's he actually doesn't run fast. He just moves through time, so it appears that he runs fast.
That could possibly be it.
Well, I know that's how it is. Like, and I don't know if that's like a modern version of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about like New 52 modern, but like 10 years ago or more, maybe modern.
Well, here's the other guy, because in my DC, I have a DC encyclopedia, and that the Reverse Flash and Professor Zoom both have their own separate page. Mm-hmm. And Professor Zoom, maybe that's the thing about the difference between Professor Zoom, but he was a Wally West villain. Professor Zoom was a Wally West villain, and what he did was he was, I believe, an FBI investigator or something like that, and Wally West became friends with him and his wife.
Yeah.
And then the wife's husband, the wife's father was killed, and during a job, so she didn't forgive him. She didn't forgive the husband for it, and something happened to cause the husband getting into a wheelchair, so he couldn't move. Mm-hmm. So then, and by this point, he knew Wally was Flash. He says, "Just go back in time and just fix this, please. Just fix this."
I can't do that.
I can't do that, and he just became
Fuck you.
I'm now Professor Zoom. So. And maybe, because I know the big difference between
that. Because the Reverse Flash one came from the future, right?
Yeah, he came from the future. He wanted to be Barry Allen. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a series called Return to Barry Allen where at first we think it's Barry Allen. We find out it's Eobard Thawne who he did his face up and got surgery to look like Barry Allen. Mm-hmm. And he was trying to take over, become the new Flash, and just try to, he reveals all the secrets in that. And that's a pretty good story right there. But
I just know that somewhere recently,
because he actually went to a museum, he saw that in the museum he saw that he actually became one of Flash's worst enemies. Like, no, one of those kind of fall to his knees moments.
Yeah, what have I become?
Because the Flash was his biggest idol. Then he just embraces it and just goes insane with it and becomes Eobard Thawne.
Yeah, Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
Huh. No, it's a really cool character though. I think the thing about Flash characters is, at first glance, I can see somebody going like, well, these characters seem a little old-fashioned and stuff, but it's like, I think the dynamic that they sort of have and the way that they're set up towards the Flash, mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, how does, because they're mostly about half of them are, say, there's a lot of, average character guys where it's like, Captain Cold, he has no superpower. He's just really like Mr. Freeze, but just mm-hmm. not, frozen.
I'll say this. I think, even though I still want to see it, I think a Flash movie.
I think about Flash versus Mr. Freeze versus Captain Cold.
That fight has had to happen at some point. I think the Flash movie could still be done. I think it could be pretty good. They're going to have to do something different with it, though. They cannot follow the same format as other movies do, because Flash is not really like any other superhero, in my opinion.
Strange enough, I think the Flash movie would work really well if the rogues were you just had the rogues all in one. Don't just have one villain.
Have 4 or 5.
Just have the rogues. That's it's Flash versus the rogues, and that's the movie itself. Because I think that's what makes his villains kind of well, is that the fact they are a team. They're a little miniature Legion of Doom.
Yeah, exactly.
That hang out at a bar.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think works about them too. And they're
really kind of like common men. They're just really blue collar guys.
Blue collar guys, and they want to get a job. Some of them come from other places or the future or whatever, but generally they do come from just kind of all the background and science.
Yeah, and maybe you just pick 5 guys, and you don't even have to have you could say a Professor Zoom / Reverse Flash for that could be something else, but you could just take all the rogue guys and just have that just be one movie. So it's Flash versus 4 or 5 guys.
That's what I think they should do with it. At the same time, it's just that's the hard thing about it, because they even acknowledge that. In one Flash story, Batman comes up to Flash. He's like, "You're because I think what happened is their problems. No, what happened is it was actually right after Tim Drake's father was killed by Captain Boomerang, mm-hmm. and he says keep be on your shit. One of your guys just killed my sidekick's father. And he says, let me tell you about my guys. And he kind of gives him talks shit back to Batman and says look, they may dress up like idiots and be very very bright, vibrant colors, but they're organized. There's something about them which you guys don't know what
Well, because I think that's what makes the rogues different, is because nobody else is really organized. Mm-hmm. And even the Legion of Doom, it's everybody kind of has their own agenda. It's just second we get control, second we all just kill each other.
You really could. I mean, I don't think it would be a smart marketing choice, and it would almost seem kind of you could have done something else here. But you could almost have the rogues have their own movie, really. If we reach that point, that would be cool, but a little early for that. But I think that you could really do that right there. Just them, the rogues trying to pull off a heist or something.
You just make it a heist film, that's all you gotta do. Mm-hmm. Well, I feel superhero movies, once you kind of get past things oh, it's a superhero movie, to where it becomes okay, it's not the superhero genre movie, I guess you could say, mm-hmm. to where it's just there's superheroes in it, but it can be any genre now.
It's a heist film.
Yeah,
with
it's just a heist
superpowers.
film with superpowers. That's all,
Mm-hmm.
And I think once like the superheroes are still accepted by everybody, and everybody kind of like has it like where it's like it's not just a superhero movie. It can be something else,
Yeah.
But I still think at the moment though, make it a Flash versus the Rogues movie.
Yeah, Flash versus the Rogues, and then maybe after that, Reverse Flash movie with one or two more other villains in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think the Reverse Flash I think could almost like work as you'd probably throw about two other villains in there, like smaller ones, but like Reverse Flash could be like a really big villain if you want to have Flash too.
Yeah, I think right there. Later the movie didn't acknowledge this, and I guess it's just one more. Flashpoint, yeah. The Flashpoint didn't acknowledge this because it was, I guess, just one more dramatic beat that would have been in there, which part of me understands. Part of me is like, yeah, that was kind of a big part. We find out in like Flash Rebirth because for a while, Barry Allen died, I think, in Infinite Crisis, and then Wally took over as Flash. Mm-hmm. Then Wally was apparently dead. Bart took over the Flash.
Yeah.
Bart died. We found out, Wally didn't die. He was just trapped in the time zone. He came out at the last minute. Mm-hmm. And I guess in that time, Bart came back to life, and then Barry Allen came back to life. And when Barry comes back, he goes up against like Reverse Flash again because he's causing all this destruction and mayhem all over Central City. And he has several cities, so I get confused sometimes.
Does he have other cities?
He's been in Central City. He's been in Keystone, maybe? I don't know.
No, Central City's supposed to be like when I hear Central City, I just picture it being like Oklahoma City because I have no idea what else it's supposed to be.
Maybe it could.
I mean, it could be central between Gotham and
Well,
Metropolis for all I know, but for some reason I don't know what it is. When I hear Central City, I just picture it like in the middle of America, and I go, "Well, what's the biggest city in the middle of America?" Oklahoma City, I guess.
It could be. Well, it could be. It almost could be maybe like.
And I'm saying like kind of like a Gotham-esque version of it,
Does Oklahoma City have a lot of car production?
Then it might be Detroit if that's the case.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like Detroit that never went downhill.
Yeah.
Because
mostly like what those ones always are. It's kind of like we take a city and then we just go really far in one direction.
Because that's one of the things like they get across that like I think Central, whichever. Because I think they changed it several times, or he switches cities. At one point, the city he's in, it's car production primarily.
Huh? Maybe it's supposed to be a version of Detroit.
Because Wally.
It always just seems so bright and sunny, and I always just picture Detroit so like Detroit. Mm-hmm. It's like smoking a pack of cigarettes.
When you go outside.
Yeah.
Take a breath, that's 20 packs.
And that's what I was picturing. So you always see Central City, it seems a little bit nicer. It's like, well, Oklahoma City always seemed kind of nice, so.
I'll say this real quick. Very shitty movie, but very funny part. I got tracked with a group of friends to go see it. Scary Movie 4. There's a part when, because they're ripping on like War of the Worlds.
And you could have went to Matrix for a second time.
That was Matrix. That was Matrix. That was Scary Movie 3.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. Never mind. I thought that was Scary Movie 4 at the time. Well, whatever. I get confused.
Well, anyway, so very shitty movie, really stupid movie, but this part I thought was pretty clever. It's making fun of War of the Worlds, and like there's a part where somebody says like, "This is Detroit." They show a picture of Detroit with like buildings on fire, you hear gunshots and screaming. Here's Detroit after the invasion. Same exact thing, but you just see like the robots walking around. The only difference.
That's funny. Well, that's what I always say. With all comedy, if you just keep throwing out jokes, there's bound to be a funny one eventually. Even if you get to go, that's the one thing about comedy, though. It's like there can be this. It can be stupid as hell, but there's always gonna be one thing in there, probably, or a couple things.
That's like one of three funny things in that whole movie. But regardless, that's neither here or there. Flashpoint was awesome, and but they didn't get across that. What was I gonna say? Yeah, because Barry worked as a crime scene investigator. Mm-hmm. Wally worked as a mechanic. He was a mechanic at the police station for police cars. Bart was still going to college, and he was working at a car. I can't fucking talk right now. At a car production company. Mm-hmm. And then he said, I'm going to go back to college and become a crime scene investigator. And that's when Barry comes back in eventually. So, no, but actually, I'm not sure if I even said this yet.
Ending.
But the ending, Barry's mother was murdered by Zoom. Did I already say that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you didn't say it in the podcast, though.
Okay. Yeah, Barry's, that was something I'm surprised they took out.
Yeah, they took that part out, which I guess is one of those ones, like, I think going with the very intro start of, like, that very first scene, I think that, like, that almost in a sense doesn't have to do with like the premise of the movie, because the whole like thing, the moral of that story is the fact that he learns his mother's little like prayer lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that there's things out there you can't change and you can't do anything about it, but if you can change something, you make sure you do that and then understand the difference.
Yeah, which I get that.
And I think that's the only reason why that's not in there, because then that kind of throws in one more little twist that kind of throws it off. So I can see why.
Yeah, probably understands that.
What do you think about the new one coming out, that Justice League War?
I think that's going to be more of a... I mean, let me say this real quick. I kind of like the DC Universe movies when they have a more personal story to them. And there's still, of course, going to be badass action, but I usually like the more personal story ones. And DC War, that one's going to be primarily a lot of just kind of like, let's kick the shit out of each other. And, you know, it's cool. I have that graphic novel. It's good, but it is just kind of a lot of explosions action. I think it could be enjoyable, but I don't think it's going to have that... kick.
It's not going to be a Dark Knight Returns, a Flashpoint, an All-Star
Superman versus the Elite. It's not going to be that.
Or a Wonder Woman or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks interesting. It's like I like the Justice League stuff. Don't get me wrong, but my favorite stuff is when they do. Let's focus on this one character.
And even though this has the Justice League title, it's a Flash movie.
It's more of a Flash. I mean, it has Justice League characters in it.
I guess you can really. I guess marketing. They're like, you know, we really could market this as Justice League because it has all the Justice League guys in it. Yeah. It's just focusing on the Flash. Yeah, except Martian Manhunter.
It's just like...
Mm-hmm. He never got here. I think Martian Manhunter...
Well, probably Mars like, oh, it's great. Nobody died. No fires. It's utopia.
Like, they just look down. He's like, look at Earth. Fuck that shit. I'll take the fucking fire.
Yeah.
Could be that.
Could be that, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Justice League War... It would be cool. I don't really care. Like, I like anything. Like, those DC movies are like... They really are the movies I look more forward to than anything else are these ones. Mm-hmm. It's like, and they give you one like every like couple months, almost, or 3 months probably.
I want to jump back on Flashpoint just for a second. Mm-hmm. I like how they're doing whatever they can to make Aquaman the biggest badass ever.
Well, see, this is where they really just got to make the Aquaman movie just to go like, yo, this is Aquaman. It's like, get that stupid Super Friends thing out of your minds.
That's Dan DiDio, like, at, like, a big press conference. Like, yo, this is Aquaman, laser pointer. You know, just shows him fucking ripped.
Because, you know, the more I see in Aquaman, this is how I feel with a lot of those characters, too. Because, like, you know, at first, you know, because Batman and Superman are pretty easy to take in. And the rest of characters, like, at very first glance, when you really have no idea who they are, it's like, Flash, he runs fast. Green Lantern, he has a magic ring. You know, Aquaman, he swims. You know, Wonder Woman, you know, she's an Amazon. But the more you go into these characters, you realize, like, no, these characters are, every single one of them are really badass in their own way, and, you know, they're very more complex. And that's the thing about Aquaman, though, is he just doesn't get that shine of light that everybody else does. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're in the Justice League TV show, they really just kind of go, like, you're kind of part of the Justice League, you know.
When he's there, he's a badass.
When he's there, he's badass, but it's like...
He chops off his own hand to save his kid.
Yeah, he chops off his... Yeah, in the first series of that. But, like, still, it's like, he's not, like... He's not, in a sense, he's not part of the original 7 in that show, which is kind of weird. They, like, replace him with, like, Hot Girl.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay? Mm-hmm. I guess I just need another female more than anything else, but it's just like one of those ones, like, they really just needed, like, they almost need to shove Aquaman in your face just to get him more stories for him to get across.
Well, this movie, he's a total badass. He was in the comic, too, but I think they gave him, it seemed like he was in the movie more than he was in the book. Because the book, he'd come in...
He's also the only character fucking in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he comes in... He comes in in Wonder Woman. He comes in. He comes in. He stabs somebody. Then he's out to like the final battle. And that's kind of what Aquaman's doing most of the time in that movie. In the book, in the movie, they have several scenes that cut back to him showing what he's up to. And I'm surprised how violent this movie gets. I mean, I know these movies.
It's the part where Batman shoots a bullet through Thong's head. And it just shows it, and he tips over, bleeding out.
Well, the thing is, you actually, it's not just, oh, he shot him in the head, there's a bit of blood coming out. You actually see, like, the brain folds and all that through the hole in the head.
Dude, just a huge hole.
Yeah.
One part, though, that gets me all, it's like, it's saying in the comic book, it just gets me choked up, is at the very end, though. And I think it's one of the greatest scenes in both comic book and the movie.
Involving Batman.
It's when Flash comes back, he's talking to, like, Bruce Wayne Batman, and he's all like, I still have my memories of, like, both, you know, worlds and stuff. And Batman's just sitting there working on something, like, consider that a blessing. And he's like, well, here's one thing for you. And he hands off the letter. He's like, this is my father's handwriting.
Yeah.
And there's just part where he opens it up and he gets this, like, kind of, like, letter from his father. Just saying, like, how much he loves him and all that stuff. And so the thing about it is, like, doesn't have to read it or anything, like, out loud. It's just, like, you know what it is, and it's just like he sees like love your father always,
Thomas Wayne,
and then like just the tears. It's just that moment right there.
It's not like Batman's not bawling like a bitch, but he has a few
No, but
tears
it's just like
come
it's
down.
just like because that's like his one love is really his parents when it gets down to it. That's
Yeah.
like the people that make everything for him.
Then he turns and looks at him. He's like, "You're a hell of a messenger." And he just says, "Thank you." And it's one of those things. Any other people would be kind of like, "Oh, that was a good line," but with Kevin Conroy, because Kevin Conroy, it's more of a cameo really for Kevin Conroy. He's in the very beginning and the very end, but he totally sells that right there.
It's just like that moment is just like it's just a pinnacle moment.
Yeah.
Now Batman has so many of those moments too, like those kind of teary moments in like a lot of the other films too.
Like when Ace is on the swing and she's like gonna she asked Batman to stay with them before she dies.
Yeah, like in which was that the movie or was that just? See, this is where it starts
That's
to all
just-
become
that's-
like, and my brain just becomes all
That's
one.
the TV show. That's the Batman Beyond episode.
That's what I thought. I thought it was the TV show. I can't remember if it was that or it was one of the Justice League movies. But yeah, that's a moment. You get the Batman Beyond, just all kinds of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Now, one more little Batman thing before we end this all. They're making the Batman Dark Knight Returns Deluxe Edition that comes out like in October. Mm-hmm. Which, it sounds like a double dipping thing, but I kind of understand why that like it wasn't released in one part at the beginning, because it's like, we have to make one part and the other part and sell them because we're not a company that just got tons of money. We're backed up by Warner Brothers, but that doesn't mean we get all their money.
Yeah. They don't get that Scrooge McDuck swimming pool.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're making the deluxe edition of Dark Knight Returns, which is just the full 2.5 hour plus long movie on one disc and one continuous like swoop. And then it's supposed to have a 70-minute or so Frank Miller documentary, which that was like, I remember when the first part came out, I was like, they should have a Frank Miller documentary. And it was like, okay, it's not on there. And the second part came out, I was like, hope they have a Frank Miller documentary. They don't got that. They got that finally.
I wonder if it's just because he's become kind of a recluse and he's kind of a little crazy this day and age. I wonder if it's just kind of like some of the camera from a distance across the street, like Frank Miller looking around.
Frank Miller goes down to buy some milk.
2% if he doesn't.
Well, apparently, supposed to, like I was reading a little thing on Amazon. He's supposed to kind of dive in and talk about the writing of Dark Knight Returns and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then they got a full audio commentary through the whole thing.
With Frank Miller?
No, well, I don't think so. I'm gonna say I don't think so. I think it's gonna be like pretty much the DCU guys. So that's kind of cool in itself. I mean, it kind of makes the first two versions obsolete because I also heard that I think it's got all the same special features and anything too. So there's no real saving grace for those other two. And it is sort of the double dipping, but I think that's a double dip worth taking.
Yeah, I need a Blu-ray, so who knows? When I get a Blu-ray,
You might as well buy that since you got the R2 on. The thing is, you got the R2 on DVD. Might as well buy this one on Blu-ray, and then you can at least have the DVD versions too. So I don't know. It's one of those ones like it sounds like one of those ones I'm like, fuck it. I'll spend $60+ on all these movies together. One movie, $60.
Well, it's a damn good movie.
And the way I learned, it's like
Batman
it's a donation because I just want to keep seeing more of these movies because I love these movies so much.
Yeah,
they really are. I look more forward to these movies than anything else. So till then, check out oldmanorange.com.
Send us an email
at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Until then.
Well, actually, can I close up with something real quick?
Sure.
This is off. We've said on several times here that I work on a comic book called Grit. Mm-hmm. For a time being, I post this on the Facebook. For those who read it, don't really check out the Facebook so much. It's kind of on hiatus for a while. I'm not totally done making it. It's more at the point where I'm not bitching because I understand it's not exactly the place to post it, but I'm kind of at this point where I'm breaking my back to make this thing, but I'm not getting enough eyes to see it. So I'm kind of putting the comic on hiatus. I'm going to try to find a proper way to market it. So yeah, just because I know like a few people who listen have like wrote in and said, oh yeah, I like it, like Jake Sampson, for instance. So anyway, yeah, the comic's on hiatus, but it will be back eventually. I'm just trying to find a proper way to take it and all that. So yeah, anyway.
Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.